Hey guys, welcome to Torch Tales, Stories Behind the Hood. I'm your host Frank Vargas, aka Traveling Frankie. And here we are with this beautiful setting with my new guest. And you guys know how this works. Somebody sits there, I sit here, we have a conversation. I just happen to post it somewhere. That somewhere is YouTube, and you guys get to either watch it or just click to the left, right? Whatever that means to you. Danny, Julian. Danny, thank you, brother, for taking the time of
Thank you.
sitting here. And it's 7:30 in the morning. We're kind of awake. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Danny, where are we exactly?
On the beautiful campus of the University of Notre Dame. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I apologize. I thought you were calling me beautiful when you were.
I would never do that, so don't worry about that part. Yeah.
No, this is great. We're at the Gata Central Regional, and they held our meeting the other day at the stadium, just a little bit across campus, and absolutely gorgeous.
Right,
It was cool.
it's beautiful. I think when we all walked in and we're just overseeing the stadium and we're like, whoa, okay, this is cool. Yeah, so
awesome.
Kudos, because definitely great location. Now, Danny, you've seen a little bit of what I do for whatever this is, Torch Tales, which I'm still figuring out what it is. But here we go. I've known you now for a few years. We run into most shows and stuff like that. So we kind of do the same thing, but of course, different companies. Where are you from?
I'm from southern Kansas. I
Okay.
grew up in a small town in southern Kansas.
Gotcha.
10,000 people, and
Really?
the town's even smaller now. But yeah,
And you're still in Kansas, right?
yeah, Kansas City area now. So a little bit, still kind of out in the country in a small town, but
Really?
close to the city. So it's
Wow. So it's weird because in today's world with the kind of jobs that we have, usually people tend to go somewhere else from where they're from, right? They just end up some other city because of work, because of family, but you kind of stayed in the same vicinity for, yeah?
It's kind of an odd thing for me. I'm kind of a different path to the welding industry, completely out of left field. I've got a bachelor's degree in biology.
All right, hold on. Don't get ahead of, because I haven't asked you anything yet, all right?
Now
he's doing my job.
Sorry.
Who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, no, I've just been fortunate not to have to move away from family.
But let's go back. So now here you are, growing up in Kansas, in a small town, 10,000 people or so. What were you like? What were you into as a kid?
Very active.
Really?
Rode bicycle everywhere, skateboarded, rollerbladed everywhere.
Really?
The town was so small you could,
Kind of
go across town and nobody even thought about it. Just
Now, were your parents also from there as well?
even smaller towns close by.
Really?
So, yeah, they.
So we go 8,000, 10,000.
Hundreds.
Really?
Probably for their
So I guess it's one of those where everyone knew everyone, kind of.
Yeah. So they're from two small towns that were somewhat close together and met somehow along the way.
Gotcha.
Through mutual friends.
So here you are, just been a very active kid, riding and skating and all the stuff that you're doing. So in high school, did you play any sports in high school?
I did, yeah. I
What
played football, basketball, track, and a little bit of baseball into probably middle school or something.
So were you any good at any of those?
Yeah, I was decent at all of them.
Really? But what was
probably-
the one that you connected the most?
Probably football.
Really?
But these days I think back and how I really miss it. I hate that I quit early, but I got a job and a girlfriend, and having money in a cool truck was way cooler than the football thing.
The
and
story
the
of
work
most of us. The story of most of us, right?
So I was a highly ranked state wide receiver.
Oh, really?
And just quit.
So it wasn't because you got hurt. It wasn't any of that. It's just kind of the truck and the girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hey, sometimes it just works. Whatever.
And I do regret it. I loved playing football, and my daughters are now cheerleaders, which is probably another question later down the road. But I get to go to all the football games now and watch
and
them
reminisce,
cheer,
right?
and then
it's like that could have been me.
I know.
Yeah. Well, we never know what could have, should have, right? Here we are. At least you're here today, and that counts for something.
Yep, exactly.
Now, when you go to after high school, playing sports and all that, you go to college also around the area?
Yeah, there's about an hour east of Independence, Kansas, where I'm from, is Pittsburgh, Kansas. And
Gotcha.
Pittsburgh State University is a Division II school that
Okay.
it's kind of like Independence High School 2.0
Got-
type of thing. So
Got it.
It's a cheaper state school and a great education, great school. So yeah, a lot of people there and just friendly faces, and so it was an easy spot to go.
When you got to college, did you already have an idea kind of what you wanted to do, or you're like most people, like, you know what, I'm just going to start doing things, see what lands, and see what really clicks with me?
So I went to junior college, I guess
Okay.
I should say that. In my hometown, I went to junior college.
Gotcha.
Have you ever seen the show Last Chance U?
Yes.
From
Yeah.
Netflix?
Yeah.
Independence, Kansas was
Oh,
one
really?
of the football teams on the, I think, season 3 and 4 or something like
Huh.
that. Were shot there. So that was my junior college, and then I went to university. But yes, since high school, I had wanted to be a chiropractor.
Since high school.
Yeah, so I worked.
Was that because you saw someone? Was it because of the sports related thing? Like,
Exactly. I always wanted to be like in some sort of sports medicine or rehab, something like that.
Okay.
And met a chiropractor in town locally and started talking to him, and I'm like, this is really cool. I think it'd be neat to help people. And I started doing a work study with him in high school, and I would see people come in, bent over and not able to walk, and then 2 days later they're upright and moving. So I was like, man, I'd love to do something like that to help people. So that was my
how long did that last?
Too long. 2 years too long. So I got my undergrad degree in pre-med biology.
Gotcha.
Minor in chemistry, minor in physics, all the science stuff.
So look at you. I never thought that you were that you were smart at all. Look at you.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, at face value. Yeah. Yep. All right. That's cool. That's awesome. So 2 years. And what happened after those 2 years that you realized, like, I think I'm.
So I went to chiropractic school for 2 years after my my bachelor's degree, and that was the most expensive 2 years of my life. And
really,
and I decided I hated it, and I didn't like any of the competitive aspect of doctor to doctor.
Oh,
and
really?
How many chiropractors were? You could go block to block and see one on almost every corner.
Yeah, it became a thing. It almost became like a burger joint. Like it was. Yeah.
So I just didn't really love it like I thought I would. So so back in high school, I started my beverage career with Coca-Cola. I worked for Coca-Cola
beverage,
Enterprises.
meaning like you were drinking, or like just
yeah, a little bit.
That's
maybe,
the other side of it. Yeah. Training.
But I took a job as I think late 14-year-old, almost 15.
Yeah.
I got a job with Coca-Cola Enterprises.
Oh, really?
Doing every little grunt work job.
Gotcha.
Working all weekends.
So it was like a factory? It was a filler plant? Like, what was it?
It was just a distributor. So,
okay, got it.
Yeah, I got to load trucks and run the warehouse, build pallets of orders that were built that day. And then at 15, they started, I come in at 4 o'clock in the evening, and they started letting this 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid.
So was that even legal?
No, I was. Yeah, you got to block this out. I was actually driving a forklift at 14, and
he just knew people. Yeah.
That distributor's closed now, and all those guys are fired. So
I wonder why, right? So at 15, now you are doing all of these things, and how long were you there?
4 years. So I went.
Oh, really?
2 years at high school. Like I told you, got a job. Got Coca-Cola paid well for a high school kid.
Are you kidding?
And then 2 years in high school, 2 years of my junior college career, and then moved off to Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And that's where it went weird. I started selling clothes. So I went from the beverage to selling clothes.
Gotcha. What does that mean, selling? Like a department store? Like
the store, The Buckle.
Yeah.
It's all clothes. And, and it's more of a suggestive selling thing. Like you're looking at a pair of pants. I'm gonna get you a shirt
that matches. Yeah, whatever.
So
now, did they train you for this? First of all, how did you get that job? How did you go from Coca-Cola to now, like, hey, dude, you need a set of pants? Yeah.
That's a great question. I think one of my favorite restaurants in Pittsburgh is called Mall Deli, and it's in the mall. It's a little deli in the mall, and so we go there every time we go make a campus visit or something, and go, eat lunch, and it's like The Buckle. I've never owned a pair of Lucky jeans or Doc Martin boots,
especially at that age, like what the hell,
So I just went in, started talking to the manager, and
Because this was like across the street from the deli or whatever?
no,
like,
it was
right
in the mall.
the same,
in the mall. Yeah.
Okay.
So Mall Deli is at one end of it, and I just walking through the mall, and like I could do this, and
Okay. So you went in, talked to someone there,
yeah,
and what the hell are you asking?
I just what goes on. I see a couple guys from the basketball team, a guy from the football
Okay.
team, and cute girls that are working
Yeah.
at the Buckle, and
Yeah.
so it just looked enticing. So I'm like,
Okay.
what about getting a job here? And
So how long before you were actually working there then, after that conversation?
probably a few months. It was
Okay.
probably May or June to when I got there in August.
Gotcha. So now they're training you
Yeah.
how to size people up, how to, hey, if they're looking at this, push that.
Yeah,
Was that easy for you?
it was not. No, I still remember my manager looking at me and go, I was really wondering if you were going to work out when you started.
Really?
Because as much as I
Were
like
you
to
like on the
people-
shy?
Yeah, well, as much as I like to talk to people, my parents always told me that they thought they were going to lose me because I'd go up to some stranger and just start talking.
Hi, sir. Yeah.
And now I'm kind of the shy guy because I'm not really comfortable with the suggestive selling type of thing. And,
Yeah.
And I just remember her saying that because I became one of the top sellers and
Really?
and what they call team leaders.
So what do you think you became one of the top sellers? Was it because all the other ones really sucked, or because, or you kind of learned the
No,
ropes?
everybody was great.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a great team. It was fun to work
Yeah.
with it. Like I said, you had cute girls coming in asking you for clothing advice and making friends with a lot of dudes, and it was a great time.
That's awesome. And so how long were you there?
2 years.
Really?
Yeah. So my 2 years left of my undergrad degree.
So do you think working there also kind of taught you anything about dressing for the future?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because you are a very stylish guy. I got to give you that.
Thank you.
For sure. So maybe that's now I get it. It all ties up. Yeah. When I grow up, I want to be like Danny.
Yeah.
Which is never.
I just can't afford my taste half the time.
Dude. Yeah. Target, Walmart. I'll be there.
Yeah, for sure.
So now 2 years. Now you have a couple of years. 4 years Coca-Cola. 2 years now selling clothes. What came next?
That's when the chiropractic school came in. Well,
What? They came back again?
No, well, that was the 2 years after my undergrad degree. So,
got it.
So that's where that came in. But threw a little caveat in there. We had a kid right after college. I had my first baby girl after three months after graduation.
Okay.
So starting chiropractic school with a brand new baby. And,
All right.
Yeah. Was a little bit difficult.
I see where the money's going, or not going.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So because now that you said that you had your first daughter, so you was a high school sweetheart, or was
No, I met Lisa in
at the clothing store? You sold her address?
No, she actually went to work at the Buckle later on.
Oh, really?
She spent so much time there. The manager's like, "Why don't you just work here?"
There you go.
Yeah. So eventually, she worked at the Buckle.
So where did you guys meet?
So her house was right across the street from campus of Pittsburgh State University, and on the corner there was an open parking lot. Her house faced with the main streets called Broadway, and then my friend's house, it aimed straight toward campus.
Okay.
And my friends just had a party one night. It was before I even got to school. I was just at their house and had a great time, hanging out, and just instantly, had something with this beautiful redhead girl. And just became really close right away. And when I moved to Pittsburgh, we kept going and hit it off. And so we were together 2.5 years or so before we had our first one. But
Gotcha. Because now you have how many daughters?
3. Yeah.
All right. Oh, that's a handful.
Yeah, and this was a few days ago because the oldest just graduated college. So.
Yeah, just a few days ago. He just aged himself, Yeah, he looks great for 65.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Congratulations on having 3 daughters and for that beautiful family that I've seen pictures on social media and stuff.
Thank you.
And I know your girls, they play sports, right?
Correct, yeah.
So what do they play?
So my oldest was a cheerleader. She did track as well. She was a COVID graduate, so her sports career came to an abrupt stop in 2020 with everything stopping. But my middle one is a cheerleader. They've all done dance, gymnastics, that type of thing, and middle one's a cheerleader and kind of dabbles in softball. She doesn't get too serious with it with the year-round stuff, but she did cheerleading in middle school and then kind of quit for a couple of years and then came back to cheerleading, and she's absolutely incredible at cheerleading, and she's a beautiful. They were all gorgeous, but beautiful, tall, thin. Like she does a great job, and she's always loud and beautiful smile and all that. So she's a fantastic cheerleader. And then there's my little one, who I've always called Killer. She's 14 now, going into high school. She's always been a very competitive kid, playing softball, soccer, all this stuff, and soccer is her sport. And it just, I coached the rec league team and, did the dad thing, and she just caught on to it. Was always the one, I don't want to be the dad coach that puts her up front because she's scoring all the time. And I had to entice her to play goalkeeper because she could punt the ball.
Gotcha.
She's like, I get to kick it far? And I'm like, that's the only way she'd play anywhere back. And the ironic thing is she was such a natural at goalkeeper. She has no fear and will challenge anybody. That's her spot now.
That's awesome.
And so this is probably her third or fourth year.
That's pretty cool, man.
She's a goalkeeper on a pretty competitive team. And
nice.
And just fun to watch. My wife and I say that it's hard for us to watch her play up in the field now. Because, we're comfortable with in the goal and getting pressure all the time and everything, and all the other parents are like, I don't know how you do it. I'm like, we put her up front. We're like,
I know. That's pretty cool. Now, do you think that all three of them being active the way they have been, the way they are, did it really come from them? Did you guys, they always knew, hey, I play sports too, whatever? Was that a thing, like you wanted them to play something like that, or they just gradually kind of started finding what they wanted to do?
We've never pressured any of them to do anything. My wife was a dancer and gymnast and did that type of thing. So she got them into dance early, and, that type of thing. But
that's pretty cool.
I guess not forced, but asked them if they would like to do something. And when they were done with dance, that's fine.
And that's the thing, sometimes kids, they don't even know what they want.
Right.
So you kind of just expose them to as much as, and then something clicks, great, we'll stick to that.
And I don't remember what got Kaylin involved with soccer, but she, somehow expressed an interest, and I'm like, well, let's go. Friends might have been playing or something, and got her interested.
Now you're doing the whole bracket of,
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know. Here you are now, you're done with clothing. So what was it that came next after
So that was
clothing?
the chiropractic school for like 2 years. I kind of did in between. It's a trimester system, so it's not semesters like a normal school. So you go year round so I went 6 trimesters. Absolutely hated it. I'd work a little bit in between breaks and things. My wife's family owned a heating and cooling company, so
Gotcha.
I'm always been very hands-on with things. I can, fix just about anything. I'm a do-it-yourselfer, and
cool.
I do a lot of things around the house and that type of thing. So I just learn a little bit of a trade.
Before women in the house, you ought to do something.
Right. So I did, worked with them a little bit between trimesters and things like that, but no real job through chiropractic school. So the student loans pile up for 2 years.
Of course.
Coming out of
the American dream.
Coming out of my undergrad with almost nothing, and then racking it up for 2 years. It was it was kind of crazy. But so that's where I kind of lost touch with the chiropractic world and got just disinterested, and I like the beverage industry. I'm gonna go reapply at Coca-Cola up in Kansas City now. Where my wife's from Kansas City area.
Now as an adult.
Right. Yeah. And so, I applied for, I think, a route driver or something like that. And then I was like, I've always loved Budweiser. We'd go over to St. Louis.
Of course you did.
So I did a brewery tour over there and just absolutely loved the history of Anheuser-Busch. And and that type of thing. And so I'm like, I'm going to go apply to the Budweiser distributor in town and the Coca-Cola distributor. And actually, it's a Coca-Cola bottler in Kansas City.
Okay, got it.
But yeah, I ended up getting offered both.
Okay.
I'm like, you know what? I like beer more than I like
I already
soda.
had my share of soda. I can buy beer now.
Yeah. So I took a job with an Anheuser-Busch wholesaler in Olathe, Kansas.
So doing what?
So I started off in the warehouse.
Okay.
Grunt job, I didn't have the worst one. The night shift was the worst one. So I got right on with day shift. But then, started loading trucks, building pallets again, and doing the things that I knew.
Of course.
Knew how to drive a forklift, all of that kind of stuff. But that only lasted a few months. They saw potential in me and put me into the next step is kind of a line cleaner job. So you go to bars and restaurants and go in and clean all the lines on a 2-week basis.
Oh, got you. And like on the kegs and all that? Got it.
Yep. So you just learn about the draft systems and clean lines and the Anheuser-Busch company standards are every 2 weeks the draft beer line should be cleaned. And,
got it.
Get rid of off flavors and so forth.
I'm glad I'm learning this because sometimes it's easy. Like I wonder if those things are even cleaned. Yeah.
Some places probably are.
I know. Yeah.
But yeah.
So how long now were you there, drinking beer? Cleaning lines. Yeah.
Months. It was just a few months in the warehouse, a few months cleaning lines, and I got my CDL and started driving a route truck.
Okay.
Got a long-term sub position.
So that's definitely a nice pay increase.
Oh yeah,
from building pallets to cleaning lines, now CDL driving.
Right. Yeah, all within the first year. And
cool.
And I'm a hard worker, so I just kept working and doing a good job and doing what I was supposed to do. And
so were you doing long routes or just kind of local?
It was all around Kansas City.
Okay.
The wholesaler that I worked for at that time only handled like half of Kansas City on the Kansas side.
Got it.
And so there's 5 wholesalers in Kansas City area. So I worked for one little corner of.
So how long were you working for the company as a whole?
10 years.
Oh wow! So that's actually a long
after
time.
my first year, the draft manager at that time, my boss that I had with the line cleaning job, was kind of a drinker and would be known to go out during the day and got in an accident after having drinks, and so he was let go.
Was he at least drinking the company's beer?
No, unfortunately he was a vodka guy. But
right. So that's unfortunate. But sometimes you have to be in the right place at the right time.
Yep.
And so I'm assuming that something happened to you because of what happened.
I became the draft manager, so I started doing managing all of the line cleaners that we had. Really anything to do with the draft.
So now you're not driving.
No.
You came back in again.
I got one of the collared.
All right.
Jobs.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So no, I would manage those guys. I'd do special events like anything to do with draft beer. I had these trailers that have the taps on the side that I would take to different events and things like that. So I was the draft manager there for almost 9 years.
Wow.
So yeah.
Well, so now I'm assuming, based on just doing quick math, now you are either late 20s or early 30s.
That is a lot of math.
When
probably 30.
Yeah. When 10 years later you're no longer there, and now still very young. I mean, here you are, 30s or something, and by now you have what, 2 daughters or?
Yes, 2000. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have 2 by now. Yep.
Right. So now, of course, the income keeps. The expenses.
Oh yeah.
Keep increasing, right?
Absolutely.
So what happened after?
Well, I used to buy my gas, and I don't know if I can give a plug here or not, but Hellgate Gases was my gas supplier for all of my my CO2 that I used for everything on the draft side. And I worked closely with M&H Gas. I recommended them for installs all over town too. So I had relationships with these guys that are out in the field that I run into on installs and things like that. But my Hellgate sales guy said, "Hey, do you want to go to a Royals game? I got a guy giving me tickets to the Royals game tonight." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll go."
Yeah.
And get to chat and having beers and have this great night. And I happened to meet this guy from Chart Industries that on the beverage team, and he's like, asked me what I did and my specialty and everything, and he's like, the craft brewing market is getting huge with us. We're designing a nitrogen generator for restaurant use and that type of thing. None of us on the team right now know anything about beer. We've been doing soda for, at that time, 10, 15 years or whatever, and none of us know anything about beer, how it's used in the brewing process or any of that type of stuff. I'm like, yeah, give me a call. If you ever have an opportunity or whatever, just let me know, and I'd be happy to talk and see what we can do. And it was almost a year later that Gary Fowler with Chart Industries called me up, and
a year later.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Chris and I kept in contact over Facebook, became Facebook friends, and just kept in contact. But it was almost a year later that. So I'm still in my draft manager job at this point.
Gotcha. Okay, and so now you came in to Chart a year later. They reached out. And you came in as what? To do what for them?
So they created a sales territory for me on the beverage team, selling CO2 tanks to CO2 suppliers.
Gotcha.
More on the beverage side.
Okay.
So swimming pools, restaurants, bars, breweries, that type of thing.
And for those, sorry, you guys know I interrupt my guests. So chill, calm down, guys. For those few people out there that don't know what Chart is, what is Chart?
So right now it's an absolutely gigantic corporation that we do anything from the vacuum insulated tanks that I started selling with the vacuum insulated. I can't call it cryogenic because it's not cold enough to be cryogenic.
Okay.
But selling liquid CO2 tanks, and then so we can store a lot more volume of a substance in a vacuum insulated vessel to where we can store a lot more liquid CO2 in liquid phase, use it in a gas phase, and just have a lot more storage on board. And then we also build nitrogen, oxygen, argon tanks now into LNG and hydrogen fueling and so many different industries that I can't even speak to. But it's a great company.
And it is a worldwide company, right?
Yes. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And now you've been with Chart how many years total?
Next week is 10.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations
Thank you.
man.
Yeah.
Is your title the same one as when you first came into Chart, or how many times has that changed?
No, so I spent 5 years with the beverage team and love the beverage team. Those guys, there's 3 of them that had been together for a long time, and they're like family. The banter is natural, and we get along like brothers, and it's a comfortable place to be. And so when I kind of bucked the system, I got asked to pull into another position, and the guys that had been there forever, I'm the one that had been there 5 years, and I'm like, oh, see you guys, I'm leaving. So that was hard, but I was asked to go manage Lindy, then Praxair, North America. So that took me into the industrial gas world, which being a beverage guy, I had no idea.
It's like, wait, what is this?
Yeah. I got asked to manage the Lindy account for North America. So I was all over the U.S., Canada. My coworker Brandon covered Lindy globally.
Okay.
So we've got a few other teammates in Europe or wherever the case has been, China, that handle the Lindy account, just little things here and there.
Gotcha.
But the main chunk of their business is the U.S. So went on through COVID, like right before. I think I started that at the end of 2019.
Yeah.
So started meeting.
Can't go anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I got started meeting everybody. Went to a national meeting, and then it's like
time out.
And so then all the conference calls, all the Teams calls, all the
Dude, that's the part that I hated the most. Like in the beginning, it's like, oh, this is so cool, but after 100 of them, you're like, okay, if I don't have to do another Zoom call ever again, I'll be the happiest man ever.
Yeah.
That just got. It was.
And just
crazy.
like I said earlier, I like to talk to people, and and talking on a screen is not my thing.
even though that's what we're doing. Well, not really. It just happens to be
But
there. We're here.
You can see my face.
Yeah.
I always on my teams. I only have my suit and tie picture up there. I don't get on video.
Yep. No, I did many of those. What do you think that has the biggest change from when you started in the industry to now? Now that you are going to be 10 years in next week.
My company itself is just evolved from the small. I always called it the world's largest family-owned business.
Okay.
Chart felt so small, but yet was so big.
Yeah.
And now it is as big as it.
Yeah.
And it's a huge corporation now. Our CEO Jill has done some amazing things with this company.
Yes, I've seen her a few times speak here and there, and definitely you can see why things have.
Right. Yep. Yeah, she's done a fantastic job and great to work for. I can reach out to her directly if I ever have anything I need to. I don't usually need to, but she's always personable, always, and has even taken calls from my customers when I can't get a solution. There was one time a customer reached out to her directly because they were in a bind.
Yeah.
And she answered. We got things going, and weird how things can go a different direction when your CEO's asking for it.
I know. But you know that happens. Well, it doesn't happen a lot, but when it does happen, having that sense of the doors always open for both the customer, the end user, and the employees. That's just thumbs up.
Yep.
Yeah, can't go wrong with that.
So to answer your question, the company is completely different. And she's divested some things that didn't align with what we were doing, and this new clean energy thing. Chart is now, the nexus of clean is our mantra, and so clean energy, clean food, all of these things, and so that's the biggest change within us. My little segment hasn't really changed at all. Like my job has changed now. I'm managing the independent distributors in the Northeast for the last almost 3 years now, which seems crazy.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because managing an account like Lindy, right? Now you go to independents,
right?
What was the biggest thing that you noticed, whether good or bad?
Much easier.
I love independents.
I know, they're the best, and it's the relationships you make. Like when you're dealing with a large corporation, it's hard to make
and a lot of
I made a few good relationships, but it's not the decision maker that can say yes or no or why or what's your advantage and that type of thing. So it's much easier to go
independence. Now you get to know that person, the wife, the brother, the cousin, the whole thing. Like, wow, this feels totally different.
And that's what these GATA events and going to the the national and the SMC, or you just get to mingle with so many different people in the industry, and it's
down to earth people.
Run these great big companies, but you wouldn't know it.
Correct.
They're family people.
And
a lot of these companies amaze me that they're third, fourth generation, 100.
That's one of the things.
Years long.
That's one of the things that blows my mind. I've only 15 years in the company I work for is 75 years in the industry. But every time I see one of those second, third generation, 80, 100, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it's impressive.
And especially to see that the generation before finally realizes, like, okay, I have to let go and kind of, let the next one come in, because that is hard to let go. So kudos to them even more. Where would you see yourself, or where would you like to see yourself in the next 5-10 years?
Well, there's a lot of guys that are getting toward the retirement age at Chart. So I'm not sure where I see myself, but I would like to manage one of these groups that I've been in. I love the independents. So I would love to be able to manage a group like myself or the beverage team or something like that, but I could still deal with these type of customers. I love this. So that's my goal. Is that what Chart has planned for me? I have no idea. I could be in hydrogen tomorrow. I'm not sure. So, I've always been open to, I wouldn't have thought that I would come into the industrial gas side ever when I started here.
Well, you have to be open. You have to be a team player too, because it's also knowledge. It's also, knowledge is power. So the more value you add
Sure.
to anything, the more valuable you are yourself. So
Well, and that's what my higher ups call it. They tell me that there's a path for me somewhere, and my experience between beverage and industrial, and it's unique because there's nobody that's done that yet.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm not quite sure. So
Cool.
yeah, there's guys that are doing carbon capture for small scale now, capturing on dry ice plants or things like that.
Wow.
And now one of my closest friends in the company, he went from dry ice to now selling hydrogen systems.
Gotcha.
So it's like, you never know where you can go.
You
so.
never know, especially with a company that big
Right,
that keeps
exactly.
expanding in
Right.
so many little niches, right?
Yep.
And so that's awesome. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to sit here and share a little bit of your journey, and definitely, but beside that, I want to thank you for always being just a cool, down-to-earth guy, a friendly face, and someone that is always just open to have a drink and spend some quality time. And I think since the first time I met you, I can remember when it was. I'm like, oh, that's a cool dude right there. So for me, that's what this industry is all about. It's just down-to-earth people that we're all here to work hard, create these relationships, and I love to hear these stories because of that same reason. Look at what you thought you were going to be and where you are now, right? And for me, that's just icing on the cake.
Yeah, well, thank you, and the feeling's mutual. I always love shaking your hand and getting to talk and see you again, a friendly face everywhere we go. So I really appreciate you having me on. When Frank first asked me to do this, I'm like, no, you don't want me to do it. I had nothing interesting to tell, and then I got to thinking about it and watching more of the Torch Tales, and I'm like, oh, there is different stories for everybody, and so I went to Frank and I said, I'd be happy to come on and tell my weird path to the welding industry, and I appreciate you being patient with me.
Thank you. That's people don't get to see these. I get a lot of text after an episode airs, and so like, hey, wow, that story is so like mine, or wow, I didn't know that about that company. I didn't know that about that person. Oh, that person actually seems cool. I always thought they were a jerk. Whatever. Right?
There may be a lot of that here.
I never tell the guests that, but that's the whole thing. A lot of people will ask me now, hey, can you put me in contact with that person or that person because of something? And I love making those connections, but they get to see another side. Because sometimes, when we are doing sales and we ask, hey, how are you? How's everything? And we don't go really deeper than that unless you really have that relationship already.
Right.
But it takes time to get to that level. So this is why I do what I do, and whatever. I'm just having fun.
Yeah, it's a great platform. I love what you're doing. It's cool.
Well, thank you, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, guys, that's how it works. If they keep saying yes, who am I to say no? So I'll be somewhere else with somebody else, and if you guys keep watching it, I'll keep pumping these out. Thank you, guys. See you on the next one.